It's getting sexy in her. Here. I meant here. It's trying to do. I don't know. I was trying to do an imitation. It did not work out. So anyway, it is getting sexy in here. Hey, it's Captain John here on your good old location for fun Star Trek talk, Starbase 80. Yeah, did I have to take a second there to remember the name of the show? Yes. Was it a great holiday yesterday? We celebrated Christmas yesterday. Oh my goodness, so much fun. I don't have a lot of presents in any sense of the phrase. But I do have a gift for all of us. Probably one of the greatest people to ever sit behind a microphone and talk about the Star Trek. And he doesn't even know all the Star Trek. He learns as he goes, and that's what makes him so magically, powerfully amazing on this show. Ladies and gentlemen, my XO, it's Flobo Boys.
You know what? That was the best intro ever. You're like, you got someone on the microphone to do it. I'm like, oh, Jonathan Frakes is here? Wow! Happy holidays, Captain.
Happy holidays, Flobo. I have been so sloppy this week because obviously the holiday and everything, and I didn't even notice that I was like tonight's guest. And then I put up a picture of Denise Crosby as Tasha Yar, and I'm like, we're getting gifts because Denise Crosby is not here.
Hey, suing would be a badge of honor. Thank goodness. Please sue us.
Hey, if she noticed me, that would be something.
Oh yeah.
I have to tell you, I wanted to do this episode, just you and me, because it's after Christmas. I knew it'd be super easy to prepare for you. Those guests can be really difficult.
Yeah. I was like, wait, was your family over?
Oh my God. No, I've got every cliche you can imagine. I've got the mother-in-law. I've got everything. I've got everything going on over here. So what a treat it was.
Julie's husband's a doctor. No, I'm just kidding.
What was so much fun was being able to sit down and watch this episode again. I hadn't seen this episode in a long time. We're talking Star Trek: The Next Generation, The Naked Now, which is a sequel to the episode we were talking about last week called The Naked Time.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a very significant episode. And I have to say, when you first got interested in The Next Generation, why don't you tell the folks what caught your eye? Or rather, who caught your eye first?
As a kid or as an adult?
Well, actually, tell me as a kid.
As a kid, my mom, when she was doing her master's degree, this is kind of a weird winding story. My mom was doing her master's degree, but she didn't have. She had a typewriter, and it was taking it forever because back in the days, you made a mistake, you had to like use the eraser band. If you didn't have that, you had to like actually erase it. Anyway, her friend had a word processing machine, and on Saturdays they'll have Next Generation on. So I was associated with work, so I never watched it. But when I sat down many years later, dozens of years later, my homegirl, man, Tasha Yar. Tasha Yar is my favorite character in season 1. Until she was unceremoniously dumped in her ass by a ball of goo. And I've been holding out hope ever since that sometime we can get that retconned and say she died in the war somewhere, because that was some bull crap. You know what I'm saying?
And we will get to that episode because your wish did eventually come true. And they totally. Tasha Yar was killed off in the first season, and from what we hear, from what us fans hear, it was a mutual decision, but it wasn't a comfortably non-conflict decision. I believe the story that she tells was she didn't like where the part was going, and that's not just like one person says one thing one time. That's a process. That's usually you complain to the producers complain about you complaining, you get a call from your agent's like, the producers are mad at you, what's going on? Like, there's a long process that goes on when you basically leave a show in the first season of the show.
Yeah.
And all of this backstage drama at this point, So this is another good reason to watch this episode. None of this backstage drama about Denise Crosby playing Tasha Yar has happened yet, which is really cool.
Awesome.
Because she's in. She's all in. She's got her cards on the table. She is playing. She is ready to make this part work at this point. This is the they call it the third episode, but you have to remember, in Star Trek, it's always they always like to debut. They like to debut with a special 2-hour episode, and that usually takes 2 episodes and puts them together. So episodes 1 and 2, those were Encounter at Farpoint, and we know that as 1 episode usually, but it is technically 2. The third episode was this one, The Naked Now,
which is interesting because even Prodigy does that. I didn't realize that's like a trope, and Discovery did it too.
One of those things that crops up all the time with Star Trek, especially for me as a fan, is the influence of Paramount. And we complain all the time about goofy things that Paramount does. Paramount Plus is still one of the goofiest behind the times.
Oh, it's not as bad as Peacock, but Paramount does not make it easy. They do not make it easy.
And that's a really interesting thing to point out too, because Peacock's no prize either. And a lot of times these proprietary network streaming services did not get the kind of work in them that say a Netflix did, or even a Hulu at that point.
Right.
So we're looking at Paramount making a lot of decisions, and you're seeing those decisions on the screen in this episode. Oh, Rick's here. Hey, Rick Martel, my buddy is.
Wait, Rick Martel?
The model. Everybody knows the name Rick Martel as the professional wrestling model. That was a giant when we were kids.
Verbal fact: the first heel I ever liked as a fan was Rick Martel.
Oh my god!
He feuded with the Bastion Booger, and I'm like, oh, the Booger sucks. All right, sorry, deep cut.
I love it. Hey, wrestling breaks its way into the show all the time. It's one of my favorite things. Oh, by the way, fellas. Okay. Keep it in the package or take it out. That is an Undertaker.
American Badass. Amazon exclusive. I would probably take out the package. I would take it out.
I mean, I like to have stuff in the background. You know how I am. I like to have stuff in the background. So I would probably take it out of the box. It's not like I'm going to resell it. I got it from my nephew. I love him.
The one I have in the box still, I'm not a huge pop collector. The one I have is the Conan O'Brien's as Superman from Comic-Con. That's worth $200. So that is not coming out the box.
That is kind of amazing. Now this is Conan O'Brien as Superman or not?
Yeah. So he went to Comic-Con every year for 3 years, and for 4 days, and every day there was a different version, a Ghostbuster one, a Freddy Krueger one. So one year it was like superheroes. So the day I went, it was him as the Man of Steel. So I was like, that is staying in the box. That.
I mean, you gotta admit these things are a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, cool.
Right up there. So
that's me.
I got that, and I got so I got both the mirror. I got a Kirk and a Spock.
You're missing Bones with that green blood Vulcan son of a bitch.
Bones, science fiction's most beloved racist. Bones, you green-blooded hobgoblin. Way off the tracks here. This episode, The Naked Now, is a sequel to the episode Naked Time, which, as we said, we covered last week. One of the things that was significant about The Naked Time was it was written by. Can you get to it before I can?
Nope, because I don't have it.
I got it. Written by the original one, Naked Time, John D.F. Black, which is one of the longest names I've ever seen for somebody named John. And
you John elitist.
We Johns are very judgmental. The Naked Now, again, credited.
I had to cut you off there. Craig Lubit, no. I actually have Conan O'Brien as the Flaming Sea as well. That's not worth nearly as much. This is the actual Man of Steel Superman, Conan O'Brien. Look on eBay. It's worth like between $100 and $200. But you're saying.
I mean, what's so cool about that was my original question was, wait a minute, Conan O'Brien, well, his superhero character is the Flaming Sea. Everybody
I have
knows
both.
that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We have both. We get Gene Roddenberry is, of course, the father of Star Trek and the great creator behind Star Trek. Gene Roddenberry also infamous for Gene Roddenberrying up stuff that didn't have to be Gene Roddenberried up.
Yeah.
And
what's funny is that for me, the analog is Carol Mendelsohn when she was on CSI. Because she'll gladly say, hey, I take scripts, I clean them up, I don't take any food on anyone's plate, but make sure my thumbprint's on it. You're like, that's not good.
Yeah. Like, yeah, seriously, did you really need to get your thumbprints all over there? It's Hollywood, folks. If you have a good idea, one of the greatest, most common things that's going to happen to you is someone's going to take it from you and screw it up.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that I think Gene Roddenberry always had that fear, and out of that fear, he would do that to other people. So the people who worked for him, like, why can I never remember this long-ass name? John D.F. Black, who wrote the original Naked Time, and apparently it was a very good script. Everybody really liked it. The guy's a script supervisor, so he's dealing with other people's scripts most of the time, trying to get them in shape for the show. But when he sat down and he wrote a script, Gene Roddenberry took it and changed all the things that he felt like changing, made it all about Gene Roddenberry and Gene Roddenberry's tastes. And that happened yet again in this episode, because this episode, which is a sequel, and John D.F. Black does get story credit for it. J. Michael Bingham got in there. J. Michael Bingham is credited for the teleplay, but at this point, especially if you had seen Flobo, did you ever see? It was a William Shatner documentary called Trouble on the Bridge, and it was about the launching of Next Generation.
You told me about it. It's in my queue. It's like, yeah, it's something you did. Did the chef's fingers, like, oh, exquisite. It's on my queue. I haven't seen it yet, though.
There's just no greater like humor that can be found in the world of Star Trek than William Shatner criticizing someone else. Ooh. That's hilarious. Because
that's like spoken word, I guess.
I mean, what was great was, he basically is doing interviews, and there's a great moment where he's interviewing Jonathan Frakes, and Frakes the whole time's like, "Come on, Bill, you know how it is." And Bill's like, "Well, tell me what Gene did at this point." And Frakes is like, "I'm not gonna tell you that, Bill. Come on now, Gene's gone. Let's not talk about this." I think that's the moment where I felt like, A, I love Frakes. I love him. He's so funny. And B, I love the fact that Shatner, like Nimoy in his later life, really embraced Star Trek, really like let himself be an expert, let himself be an elder statesman. Of course, there is no bigger elder statesman than Gene Roddenberry. And we have to go to the numbers on this one. Okay, Flobo.
Yo.
This episode debuted on October 5th, 1987. October 5th, 1987. Where were you, Flobo?
October 5th, still at home breaking crackers into the carpet. I was 2. I don't know the hell I was doing.
You were 2.
I was 2, yeah. Probably eating paste. I don't know. Wasn't in school yet.
This is amazing. I was out of college. I had been a professional comedian and actor for a little while at this point. And so I was pretty much a grown up.
Yeah.
Damn. So if I had seen you in Brooklyn, it would have been like, hey, I waved at a 2-year-old.
Right. Well, our blocks a lot of white people. So it was kind of cool then. It was after 88 or 89. People will say, what are you doing in our neighborhood? You know what I'm saying? I'll make sure you know this.
Hey, man, I understand. I am a gent who understands gentrification.
Yeah. Can you get like a coffee shop in here?
Okay, so as we were talking about as we were talking about this episode, right. So I see this episode, it being technically the first hour-long episode of this new Star Trek. I see this as a huge moment in which Gene Roddenberry is still trying to prove to everybody that A, he's got it, he hasn't lost it. B, this show can work, even though it doesn't have any of the previous Star Trek that people know and love in it. Everything has been redone.
Yeah.
And, when you look at this, especially this episode, but if you
A mistake.
look at this,
it's a mistake. It totally, because I'm watching this, and even though it's the next generation, it clearly is the original series. Even the score is like, like, and if you got to do a whole new thing, you make a clean break. You have references. Don't like rehash a plot. That is the worst thing you want to do to fans. All right, NWA Power. Don't rehash plots. Go in directions. But it was a mistake. But I don't know.
I hear you.
It was a good episode. Overall, it was a good episode. We'll get into it. But like the iteration of that, I'll either say, if I was Gene Roddenberry, I would say don't do it, or like episode 18, 19.
Right. It's really interesting because I was not watching the show at this point. I actually didn't start watching Next Generation until I think the second season. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the second season because I was doing comedy a lot. And so I was working at night and I wasn't VCRing that because that was how you recorded shows at that time. Everybody remember that?
Yeah.
So I didn't have any access to these shows. And I also had in the first season, I had a girlfriend who didn't like science fiction. So
she's clearly not his girlfriend anymore.
Clearly that did not work out. But I would talk to people who were watching it. And as you can imagine, one of the main things I heard was, oh God, they did a plot that they did from the original series. This show is no good. This show has no idea what it is or where it's going. And they're stealing from themselves already. And just the feeling was pretty negative. You have to imagine that one of the main reasons why it was the way it was because Roddenberry, this was how he was doing it. This is how he was dealing with it.
And to be fair to Roddenberry, it's a lose-lose, right? If you go too far off the course, this isn't the Star Trek I grew up with. Call it something else. It's not Star Trek. Pick it. Like, as in Discovery, it was a whole different interaction from the point of view of the commander, of the first officer. But this one was way too similar. It's almost like Ford coming out with the Mustang, looking like it came out like 40 years ago, but it's a new Mustang. It's like, it's a safe option, but you have to be able to take some of the blowback.
Right. I mean, it is not going to appeal to people who are like, yeah, we saw that. What's new? And yet I do understand, as you're saying, I do understand the conflict here because what you've got is I need to make sure if I'm Gene Roddenberry in 1985, 86, when I'm planning this show, I have to make sure I can get as many of the Star Trek fans as possible.
Right.
Job one. I really want everybody. I want everybody to absolutely love this show and make this show a big part of their lives, which eventually did happen. But it was a long road just getting from there to here.
Why?
and the whole idea, I mean, referencing Enterprise is actually pretty smart of me.
Barry Horowitz wins.
I love Barry Horowitz so much. Barry Horowitz was a professional wrestler who never won, but he would always pat himself on the back for having done a good job. And so I love to do the Barry Horowitz whenever I can. The entire plan behind the show was get all the fans, don't lose anybody, and then gain as many fans as possible. And it was really touch and go for a couple of years. I have to tell you, having been there, it did not look like this franchise was going to survive. It did not look like the next generation was going to be able to replace the classic crew and the classic, Star Trek, because they were still making movies at this point too. So they were still around. So a lot's going on. Let's talk about the actual plot itself.
There's a plot.
So the Tsiolkovsky, the SS Tsiolkovsky, having a really hard time with this one. Star Trek names are normally really easy, and you just go.
But John D.F. Black comes and ruins everything. No, I'm just kidding. It's Donald Francis, by the way. It looks like a sense of Donald Francis. But
this ship is a science vessel. It's got 80 souls aboard it, and they're going to be joined. This is very similar to the Naked Time. They're joining this science, expedition, and going to provide some support to them. That's their mission. They get out there, and they're hearing basically a crazy party, and someone says it's going to be a blowout, and then they blow the hatch on the bridge, and everybody gets sucked into space. And they're dead. Crazy. This is in the teaser. So you wanted my attention, Gene Roddenberry. You got it. How nuts is it that it basically starts off with a party that leads to a massive suicide pact? Again,
CSI, all references. It's always like, this party's amazing. Cut to, snap, 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 corpse on the floor. Who are you?
I've been there. I did my time with the CSI. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's just this crazy kind of death thing. So,
crazy kind of death thing. We are crazy kind of death thing. We're gonna rock.
That's the T-shirt that's gonna come out of this episode. Black with white lettering. Crazy kind of death thing. Oh my god, I want that T-shirt now.
Hell yeah.
They find a bunch of naked people dead, frozen. It appears someone's turned off all the environmental controls, and it is pretty cold in space. And that got us a view of naked dead people. Again, this is like 7 p.m. on a Saturday. I think it's like the average time when this was airing. Sometimes on Sunday nights. It was in syndication, so usually it was up to whatever UHF channel was showing it when they were going to show it that weekend.
Right. I laugh at those corpses. Like, what the hell are they doing? It seems kind of cold. Can I warm up? Nah. What?
I mean, I've been that drunk. I will say.
Come on. You literally try to do something like one of those, like, I'll do one of those. You're kind of like, whatever. What is life, bro?
One of the main things that they find is someone goes into the shower and like in the classic, like, who done it, the dead body just falls out.
Yeah.
Is that Riker? I already can't remember. And he catches a fully clothed woman who was in the shower.
Of course.
Eyebrow raise.
Hey, it's for the critics. Censors?
That's going to be very interesting later. Oh, censors. By the way, I'm not sure this was ever meant to be watched on a giant screen in HD. But if you look at some of the scenes of the naked people, you're seeing a lot of nakedness, like a lot more than I think they thought we were going to see.
I'm going to have a review after this. I didn't notice.
It's not the sexy people. I'll just say that.
One
of the dudes is lying on his side, and it's a Sunday morning, and I apologize, for how gross this is, but there's a guy lying on his side. They took like a little scrap of a sheet, and they put it over him, and they tucked it into his butt.
It's crazy. That's damn decent of them. Yeah.
Well, I think that was because the censors were like, you can see the crack.
Right.
You're not.
Can you see it now?
Exactly. Hold still there, Chauncey. I'm just shoving that, tucking in the sheet.
Spiteful tuck.
Freaking crazy. So with all of this craziness, anyone who's ever watched Star Trek before knows exactly what's going on, because this is the Naked Time. It's only happening now in the Naked Now.
Ding.
There's there's a meeting in the doctor's office where Dr. Crusher is at her Mac, I guess. She's at her computer. And Deanna Troi is there. So Counselor Troi is there. And of course, our brand new captain, who you might not know very well at this point, because this is just the second episode. But they go into full decontamination. Do all the decontamination you can think of. Get everybody back here. All the decontamination. Now, they can't remember the previous adventure in which this happened because this is 100+ years after. I'm never good with how many years.
See what happens? You skip history class? Nah, I'm just kidding. Hey,
this is what happens when I'm not staring at our studio page and the guys in the room are saying funny stuff. And
I wonder what whose song will be for CSI Federation. Behind Blue Eyes. I don't know. What would be the who track you would do? Mom's got a squeeze box. All right.
That would work this way. So, Flubbo, what'd you think of like we're about 10 minutes in at this point, and here's a question I wanted to ask. Did you have feelings about Geordie LaForge? Because he seems to be one of the first actors or characters in this episode where they're like, here's your guy, you like him. And I always liked him because when I was a little kid, Roots came out and LeVar Burton was the star of Roots.
True.
And just a huge, cultural icon, really. He didn't get a lot of work for a long time after that, here and there. But now he's a regular on this series. And I know for me, it was like, oh, thank God, LeVar Burton's here. I can watch him. You must have grown up with
Reading Rainbow.
Take a look. It's in a book, Reading Rainbow.
Yeah. Reading Rainbow. Hey, yeah.
Craig brings up a good point because in Enterprise, they made decontamination sexy with that gel. Oh, rub that gel. I'm sorry. Where were you?
I can imagine some politician bring back the gel. Things got too complicated with the gel rubbing scene. Make Starfleet great again. No, the question. Jordan LaForge. You weren't like the guy, sure. Seeing his disability was kind of like interesting. Having him do that, but it's almost like it's almost tragic. The conscience, the nice guy got it first, or got infected first. And he was sweating like a lot. Like he wasn't sweating. He took a dip in the pool. Like he was just like, yeah, kind of warm, like bro. But yeah, that's why you make sure it's that serious when you get the good guy getting it first. I get it.
Right. I mean, that's the sacrifice. There's always like you sacrifice somebody that you really like. A lot of times in horror movies, it might go the other way where it's like, well, I'm a jerk and it doesn't matter. Oh no, there's Jason.
Yeah, like I'll go skinny dipping in this dark camp, no problem.
I've been mean to everybody. There will be no comeuppance. But in the other direction, there's the guy we really love, and oh my God, stuff's going on here, and he's joking around, and he's kind of, he's crap. How did they find us to come?
For those of you who are watching this, Starbase 80 got some spam in the chat.
We got our first
hot singles.
Spam. I never knew the phrase "hot singles" in Bulgarian before. It's very exciting.
Road trip.
Look, we've got a whole episode to get through here, so let me start going double time. We have got people getting the Geordie's sweat on them and then sweating on other people. That seems to be how this is spreading.
Mm-hmm.
We do spend a bit of time with each of these new characters. That's good. So, we've already had the conversation with the doctor, the counselor, and the captain. And Geordie LaForge is like, it's too damn hot. And
that is not how alcohol works. I'm just saying. Ecstasy, maybe. But alcohol is kind of like, I'm sleepy. No one took a nap. No, okay. No one decided to take a nap.
Honest to God, where's the napping? I would be all over that napping. You would find me asleep in front of a PlayStation 4
Right. It's
controller
like
on my lap. Like,
right.
no, turn it off. I want to finish this level.
It's cool. Uncharted will not finish today. No, to me, I get the idea of, and I'm kind of skipping ahead here. I get from the script stage. Hey, look, man, the Naked Time did this. A lot of implications. Let's go a little bit further. Let's have people touch people. Let's have sexual innuendo. Let's have the cure not work. I get all of that, but it just seems so hollow because now you have to accept the contrivances as being so out the way. Like Wesley's gonna commit anarchy because he had one beer. Like I don't understand. Like to me, I don't feel that jump. You know?
Yeah, and that's been one of my problems I had ever since the Naked Time, in the original series was I've gotten intoxicated before, but I didn't then just turn into a super villain who figured out how to blow up the nearest nuclear facility. Like
yeah, that's why you don't do drugs. Alcohol's the drug.
Kids, this is important for you to learn. You're going to become Dr. Doom if you have a beer. Mm-hmm. The infection spreads from Geordie to Wesley in a weird little scene where, I mean, Wesley doesn't know what drunk people are like, I guess, but Geordie's like touching him and like so friendly. It's very groomy and very kind of, ooh. Is it creepy, or are they just establishing
I'm not touching it. Not touching it. Nope. Not touching that one. Not answering.
All right, I'm gonna skip ahead.
Very groovy.
So now at this point in 10 forward, in the observation lounge, I think they're different. We've got LaForge there, and hey, I kind of love that they're spending so much time with LeVar Burton because he is a really good actor, and they're basically, once again, what's the best special effect in Star Trek? Acting. And he is found by head of security, Tasha Yar.
Yay!
Tasha Yar, played by Denise Crosby, granddaughter of Bing Crosby. Very interesting that she's on the show because of the known people on the show, she's number 2. LeVar Burton had a career before this show, but most of the other actors had either been on soap operas or, in Patrick Stewart's case, had done most of his work over in England. A little bit of British TV, a lot of movies shot over there. And then you've got Bing Crosby's granddaughter on the show. Mm-hmm. Super beautiful. Mm-hmm. I think that's fairly apparent from the very giddy up that she is super beautiful. Mm-hmm. If people will remember, the reason why she was on the show was she was originally going to play the counselor. And the head of security was originally going to be played by Marina Sirtis. And Gene Roddenberry, in his infinite wisdom, switched the two, creating Counselor Troy, which actually is a great character. I love her. But a lot of people had a lot of problems with Denise Crosby trying to be macho as Tasha Yar. What did you think of that, Flobo? What did you think?
I've heard that once before. And I think both of the actresses could be a counselor. They're different flavors or whatever. But I agree with you. I think that Counselor Troy makes a lot more sense. I can imagine being frustrated, being like, oh, you're going to be the advisor. You're going to be the smart character. And then they're going to put you at security, but also security because it's a show about conflict and things get breached. You get to lose week in and week out. This is why I'm not a big Worf guy. I know people get mad when I say that blasphemy, but Worf gets his ass kicked a lot. And we all know Klingons are black people. He gets his ass kicked a lot. So I can see the frustration there. But look, here's the deal. Denise Crosby or Tasha Yar is tall, statuesque. They make a point to talk about her backstory, albeit a little bit clumsily. And here's someone that can always fight herself. She can also delegate. So you can't mess that up. But I like the fact that she had a physical presence to make that work for me.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. Hindsight's always 20/20. And I know at the time people were like, oh, they're trying to foist this very macho woman on us, and they're just shoving her in there. Um, well, when you go back to the source of that idea, which is they were taking the character of Rodriguez. I like to do Bill Paxton's imitation of her name, Rodriguez.
Yeah.
From Aliens, and she was muscular, and she was on it, and she was very asexual and very cool, and people really loved that character. So Roddenberry, having seen that, he was like, "Oh, I got to get one of those," and hired Marina Sirtis to do it. What?
Yeah. I never got the whole force thing. To me, I think there are certain instances when things are forced, like when a cartoon has to do an anti-drug message. That is completely forced. But when a fan goes, "Hey, they're forcing it," or this character's like, "Hey, look at me," you just told me about your own preferences. So I think that's kind of unfair, and that happens with a lot of franchises, not just Star Trek, especially watching Discovery. It's forced that Michael Burnham is a capable Starfleet captain because it's different. I don't get it. Well, I will say this: that dialogue of her talking about her backstory, the rape gangs, was forced in there. That was a dialogue about one topic, and she's like shifted this in. I get that, but characters being forced in an ensemble show where the show wasn't about her is not forced at all.
And in a modern Star Trek, they might have done more from her point of view, and that might have made everything come out a little easier and a little better in terms of exposition and character work. And that actually is where, because we do the Discovery show Commander's Log, which is Flobo's show, and I love Discovery. One of the things that they're really good about doing is taking you through character arcs. What's the character going through? Next Generation, being such an old version of it, is like, let's cut to these, let's cut to those, now these. Right. And it's very clunky how things go back and forth.
Agreed.
Again, this is only the third hour of the show that they've put on air, so of course
it's different time then. 23 episodes, episodic, strictly episodic. So yeah,
I mean, Flobo was 2 at the time. That's how long ago it was, folks. That's how long ago
it's true. I was
baby Flobo walking around going Tasha Yar. When everybody starts getting intoxicated, we start seeing, okay, if you can get past the fact that they've already done this plot, I honestly think this is some of the best work that these actors have done. Gates McFadden was hilarious as Dr. Crusher, who's got a huge crush on the captain. Patrick Stewart, by all accounts, Patrick Stewart was super serious when he got to work and couldn't believe how much American actors fool around during their 13-hour work day.
Right.
And when you hear all the stories from Frakes, from Brent Spiner, Will Wheaton, when you hear all these stories from the people who are on the bridge and part of the regular work day for Patrick Stewart, they always make him out to be, because I think I think this was true, they always make him out to be a stick in the mud for a lot of it. But when when Captain Picard, gets intoxicated with this virus, I think he's hilarious. Was that comedy working for you, Flobo?
So again, that stuff works for me. And Patrick Stewart, Picard's range is subtle but long. Yeah. But you can't do this the third episode in. We're still getting to know these people. So that's why it kind of seems like, oh, now they're going off it's like a melodramatic jump. We see them now, not seeing them grow. But thankfully, going back to this one after years of seeing these shows and watching Picard, I go, oh, this is great, because he did the whole thing with his neck and stuff. But if you're coming into a show, hate watching it, ready to be like, that's not my Star Trek, because when I was a kid, my dad and I watched the other one before then of course it's going to be like, oh, look at these assholes.
Yeah, I mean, that is the big danger here. This is the first hour-long episode that they've put up for the special for the series. So I don't know that this was the right one to put there. I think I'm with you on, maybe they could have waited 10 episodes in, 15 episodes in before they did this one. People are not we don't know the characters yet. So okay, I get this is how you're going. I'm going to introduce the characters to you through this extreme intoxication and all of this, but we don't know how they are normal. We haven't gauged what normal is at this point. So yeah. Um, as you can well imagine, if you've never seen this episode, it's just a whole lot of character stuff. Sorry, Flopo.
I know. For those of you who don't watch Commander's Log at the end of that episode, like, hey man, you're gonna enjoy Starbate A this week. Fully functional Flopo. I had no idea what that meant. Now I do. Jerks.
Let's get to that. The fully functional line comes in because basically, and this is so crazy. So Tasha Yar has gotten space drunk, and she picks up a guy in the hallway. I'd forgotten about that. She picks up a guy in the hallway, takes him to her quarters. When they get in touch with her, he answers, and then she's like, "Oh, I'm not coming to the bridge. Ixnay on that." And so the captain sends the android sends Jada down there. That makes sense. He's not going to catch this. And then when Data gets there, Flobo, the blue shirt that she was hanging with before, he's gone.
He's been dead.
Is she just ready for right? Did she Black Widow him? What did she do here? Is she ready for round 2? I don't know what's going on here.
I don't know either.
Yeah,
you told me to watch this. Okay, so when I first saw this, my heart broke, and I said I'll never forgive John ever again. And I said I can't believe you did this to me.
Keep going.
Well, the first thing I said is, why is Tasha Yar looking Kryptonian? But Dana comes over and does it. But I get it. You want to establish her as this tough as nails person that no mere man can satisfy, right? And so someone had to go to the next level. I get as to why she's the one to have sex in this episode is kind of weird and kind of cringy. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, if you have Worf as a Klingon on this level, why not have Tasha Yar be like the Klingon type human character who can break an android?
Right. I mean, you know what I kind of thought while I was watching this episode this time? This is the first time it occurred to me, was Beverly Hills 90210 was just becoming really popular. I can't remember if Melrose Place had happened yet, but basically the like sexy people doing sexy things with sexy people. That kind of thing was very much happening at that point. So I wonder if the whole point of this was like, hey, look, everybody, Bing Crosby's granddaughter is banging people on our spaceship. Watch our show, okay? I mean, that's kind of what I feel like I was seeing. Although, and I will say this, and I know you've never done this, Flobo, but if one were to search Denise Crosby nude photos on the internet, and I'm saying don't do it. Do not do it. But if you were to do it, you would definitely see that she was super beautiful. And I'm sure at the time they were thinking, there you go, Rick. At the time, they were thinking like, let's maximize what we got going on here. We got a young, sexy cast.
Oh yeah,
and they also pair off the potential couples. Sure. So Troy and Riker were a couple in the past, and Troy's like, don't you want me to spend some time inside your mind?
He's like, come on, let's go.
Let me ask you about that, Flobo. Good offer or bad offer?
Totally a bad offer, man. Because he's like, you think about the same 3 things all the time, and the Mets aren't even in the season yet. What are you doing? But I love wrestling and nachos.
You would not. Okay, so you're a no. You're a no on that. And I mean, Gates McFadden. Maybe it's just because I'm an older man now and I look at her and she's like such a kid to me now.
Yeah.
But man, she was doing some sexy stuff.
Okay, go on with yourself, old man.
I love when she is bending over her desk, kind of wagging her butt around. Not in the camera. It's way at the back of the shot, but you can believe I was watching the back of the shot.
I love it.
So you got potential couples. You've got Picard and Dr. Crusher. You've got Riker and Troy. And now you've got... Sorry, I got to go back to it. There, I'm going to skip ahead. Now you've got Data and Tasha Yar. Now, can I just say, hell yes, under boob.
Yeah. I was gonna say, man, those abs, I'm kind of jealous. You gotta show me that day after Christmas. I had to go back to the gym.
Look, anyone who's seen a picture of Denise Crosby as she matured, you will learn a lesson that I learned a long time ago, and Flobo, you haven't learned it yet, and that is, when you're young, you're probably never gonna look that good again. When you get older, you look back on your youth body and you're like, holy cow. I remember at the time I would go, you guys, I'm so fat. When at the time you might have had one of the greatest torsos in human history. Look at that torso. That is incredible.
I mean, that does some of those crunches for sure.
This is so many good, smart things happening. Watching your diet, doing those crunches, getting those abadabas working, as Jake used to say. It's anyway. Let me get this off the screen.
Again, she looks like a Kryptonian. I was like, what is that? For a second, I didn't realize that was the same person. I was like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. She looks like what's her name from the Superman 2?
Yeah,
Spit curl.
Before I was from Man of Steel, but yeah.
Oh, Man of Steel. Yeah, she looked great too. Yeah, see, that's me. I'm gonna go back to the 70s if you bring anything up that might have happened in the 70s.
Yeah. Ursa,
hello.
Ursa and not. Yeah.
And she was major. She wasn't minor. Hello. We get a lot of Wesley in this one, and a lot
I should expect the star puns on Star Trek, but sorry, go ahead.
A lot of Wesley in this one, and that's fine, because Wesley actually shows that he's got a tremendous amount of ability and he's super smart, and we're also reminded many times that he's not allowed on the bridge, which is hilarious.
Ugh.
Especially seeing...
I never got the Wesley Crusher hate until watching it, and I feel bad. Was it Will Wheaton? Will Wheaton. Yeah, he was set up to be a scrappy dude. Like, even Picard was like, "Oh, Wesley," and it's not even his fault. But the fact that he went in this episode to basically cordon off part of the ship was like, of course you're gonna hate that guy. That's a classic heel move. Force fields are a classic heel move.
He names himself acting captain. It's in the script. It's very funny, and one of the things that I've learned, I don't know how you feel about this, Flobo. Over the years, I have learned not to go after the actors, because a lot of times the actors don't make the situations that they are working within.
True.
So you've got Wesley, drunk, but he doesn't seem drunk at all. Well, I mean, I hope at that point Will Wheaton doesn't know what it's like to be drunk. Kids like 13, 14.
Method.
And I would hope that there was a sense of, giving the kids some credit. But I remember at the time, I absolutely hated him. Hated the character, hated the actor, hated it all. I feel
like the drunk the bad actor thing. I think there's a little of goodwill you get in your craft, and if you're an actor, there's one that comes to mind. I won't even say her name, where she's had so many properties where I did not like her interpretation. I can say, not for me, going to walk away. But apparently, what I'm reading around is that there was a generation of people who just actively hated this child. that wanted the child like off the show. And they're like, why? Who gives? Who cares?
You have to remember, this was a time when they set up a 1-800 number. Do you remember this? In the Batman comic.
Yes.
And you could call in to either vote for
Yes.
Robin to be murdered or for Robin to survive. And the Jason Todd Robin was killed because people voted to kill the kid.
Oh, was that surprising for DC? Were they kind of like, they'll never kill? Oh God! Oh no!
You can't even imagine at that point a Robin who you'd seen on the TV show and every cartoon punching grown-ups and surviving these fights and the so many death traps, and then basically Joker with a lead pipe in the conservatory.
It was a crowbar. A little hooky part,
But holy cow, how did they find us? I'm sorry, there's yet another spammer over in the comments section. Wow, that's crazy. As we get through this episode, because let's face it, we're just about done here. Do you have favorites besides Tasha Yar at this point? Have other characters jumped out to you, and you could if you could imagine yourself being there at the time when this is the first hour-long episode that you see? I guess this is my question. Are you in, and why are you in? Are you going to keep watching, and why are you going to keep watching?
That's a great question. Because I got into TNG because of what it's not. It's not as flashy as Discovery. It is not as swashbuckling as the original series. As it stands on its own, there isn't a compelling character for me. They'll keep me coming back. In fact, a lot of it, by the time season 5 rolls around and people say it's the best part of the show, I was like, I'm watching this for an assignment. So I really did like Tasha Yar because I liked the idea that on this ship of aliens, your chief of security against all interplanetary things was a human being of a statue as physical presence that did not care about looking pretty, that did not care about speaking her mind, and she gets unceremoniously ripped away from me. And so, to me, everyone's pretty much level and flat. And I understand if someone goes, "Oh, Picard's my favorite because he's actually captain." Play that order, but no one really jumped out for me for a long time.
Yeah. I have to say there was no hook for me, and I was doing a lot of the cynical stuff that I was hearing from my friends, which was, oh, they don't have Spock now, but they have this android named Data. It's not very good. And I'd be like, oh, yeah, that doesn't sound good. Who's the guy with the big forehead? I think he's a Klingon. Anyway, there's this other thing. And so, like Worf was a hook for me later. There was that episode where people are these terrorists are just like transporting themselves onto the bridge and attacking people, and they kidnap Dr. Crusher. And at the first time Captain Picard sees one of these guys pop up on his bridge, he jumps through the air like a 7-foot leap towards the guy, doesn't even think about it, just like, oh, I must give a flying tackle. And that's when I was all in. I was like, oh my God, this is a thoughtful captain. He's got number one to do most of the physical heroic stuff for him, just like I do with Flobo.
What?
But he's a man of action himself. And that I loved. Just the whoever came up with that, where he doesn't even think about it, he just leaps on the guy. He's gonna beat the crap out of him, like in pro wrestling, where some Yahoo comes out of the audience and jumps in, and the wrestlers and the referee and the managers beat the crap out of him. That's what
your
I like. Your
ticket absolves from any wrongdoing or illegal recourse.
Once you're on the other side of that barrier, you belong to us. Yeah, man. If you're a piece of thread, don't show up in front of a lot of cats and expect them not to take swipes at you. That is gonna happen.
Right.
Let's take a look at Craig. Data was ported from another Roddenberry property called the Quester tapes. I could totally see that, Craig.
I
could totally see that. So
many tabs open after I talk to you guys.
One of the exciting things about doing this show is we're not that careful. So we're done.
Oh, they saved the day. The end. Okay.
There was basically they one of the things that happened in the original episode happens in this one as well, which is they do come up with the cure. It's just everybody's too drunk to use it.
You know how it is.
Kind of love that.
Parasites, am I right?
We have a great ending to this episode, actually, because everybody has a little more respect for Wesley, because it is clear he is a genius. He did all this evil genius stuff. And again, I'm like, and you don't kick him off the ship. He basically had your number. He could have killed all of you.
Yeah. It's like,
but Wesley. He does save the ship. Yeah, he helps save the ship. And
well, it kind of makes sense to shut up Wesley now, right? Kind of like, you know what? Last week, I don't want to hear it. Shut up, Wesley.
And one of the greatest parts, one of the absolutely greatest parts, and maybe this is just because this has happened to me so much, is when everybody's sober and Tasha Yar sees Data, and they've already explored his full functions.
Yeah.
She says to him, Data, I'm only going to tell you this just once. It never happened.
That to me made it weird. that to me made it weird, right? Like, everyone was kind of like, "Oh wow, that was a crazy ass parasite." And then Tasha having feelings. Look, man, don't tell anyone about this. If everyone's find out, like, come on, no one's gonna. Whatever.
I mean, look, you take a ride on the Data machine. I don't think anyone's gonna judge you. And he was also like created to be part of this community. He was part of the scientific community, and he's fully functioning.
I just what is Data gonna do? Go to his boys and be like, let me tell what I did last night. It was stupendous. Like, come on.
Honestly, though, I could picture like walking down the hall and you see Tasha Yar, and then one of the guys is like, man, I could eat lunch off that butt. And Data would be like, interesting thing.
Oh my God.
Matter of fact,
the curvature of her ass. Totally this is where play a meal. What are we doing? It's time to get out of here.
Let's get out of here. Absolutely. What else is on your notepad there?
Okay. Yeah, for sure. I forgot about Beardless Riker. That was kind of cool.
Beardless Riker can throw you.
There's that stupid cicada sound with a parasite transfer. Does anyone hear this? The loudest parasites I've ever seen. Does fully functional mean that the homeboy crafted a dick on the guy, or does it change into things? That's a question I had. Does alcohol make you go in dark rooms and ask fine white women to touch them? Because if so,
yes,
sign me up.
I can't tell you a lot, but I can tell you that. Yes.
Dr. Crusher throwing herself at Picard is oddly more cringy. He's like, I'm not fully functional. No, that's dumb. It pays Picard to give Wesley Crusher credit, and that's hilarious. And wait, Data actually did it? Well, oh my. Maybe more human than all of us.
The first cast member that we know of that gets lucky is Data. I mean, technically we know that Riker and Troy got lucky in the past, but I mean, seriously, the robot's getting some. The robot is getting some. Oh my goodness. I'm just telling you. And how many guys who look like Brent Spiner have gone where no man has gone before? If
all
you know
the
what
time.
I mean, I knew Brent Spiner from Night Court.
Oh yeah. Girls love that, man. A man with no baggage? Sign me up.
Okay, Flobo, any tabs you want to tell us about on your browser?
So you guys have teach me so much things. I have so many tabs open here. I got Tasha Yar for sure, and I have the Naked Now, but I also have what is a teleplay? What's DF's names? Donald Francis. The Flaming Sea has its own comic series and a TV show that references on Justice League. The Flaming Sea, I did that already. Barry Horowitz Pop is available. It came out last year. You can get that on Amazon. Here's a picture of him on Facebook actually holding up.
Wow.
Theora is a real character that was shown on Man of Steel. I'll look her up after the show. Jason Todd, where is he now? And the Questar tapes.
Jason Todd became the Red Hood,
Mm-hmm.
which is crazy because in classic canon Batman, the Red Hood had been the original version of the Joker.
Yeah. There's a weird tube thing going.
Oh, I love it all. It's just so genius. Folks, that's going to do it for this week's Starbase 80. Honestly, to even call this a job, I don't know what I'm thinking. This was just nothing but fun.
Yeah.
Flobo, thanks for being here, man.
Thanks. Ellen, this week, don't touch people in the face.
Yeah, seriously. Like, honestly, who was it who walked over and just touched Dr. Crusher?
Riker.
You didn't have to do that.
Hey, how's it going?
How about this fantasy that Riker, who's like granted, strapping young man, 6'5", beardless, this whole idea that he could like hold it off, like, yes, I was exposed to it, but I'm not going to get drunk by it.
It's like, what are you, Scottish? Come on. I'm Scottish too. It's not racist.
It's true. I'm Scottish too, and he is not racist. Folks, we gotta go. Thanks for being here, Craig. Hey, does Tasha Yar do it for you? Does it for Craig?
Hey!
Oh man, it was so great when Craig showed up on time.
Craig,
This week's guest, Yar's tummy. Very proud.
Yeah, we need more Tasha Yar, baby.
Follow Flobo Voice's Patreon. FloboVoice.com.
Yeah.
Flobo Voice. Go
That's
visit.
also true. What am I doing?
Go visit our friend. John showed us his Weber thingy. That's it, folks. Good night.